Shabbat Shalom. We are so very glad that you're here with us this evening. We're glad to welcome all of our guests and friends, some known, some we are coming to know better, from the different houses of worship that our 8th and 9th grade students have the opportunity to meet during their studies during the year, and we're very hopeful that when you continue after services and join us at dinner that you will make it a point, certainly our folks and the folks who are joining us for the first time, to meet someone or some people who you've not yet met, to come to know each other better, and for us to deepen our understanding and appreciation of one another. We say that a candle's but a simple thing. It starts with just a bit of string, but dipped and dipped with patient hand, it gathers wax upon the strand until complete and snowy white. It gives at last a lovely light. Life seems so like that bit of string. Each deed we do a simple thing, yet day by day if on life's strand we work with patient heart and hand, it gathers joy, makes dark days bright, and gives at last a lovely light. When I looked out this evening and saw when we first gathered for some learning together just before services, and then when I look out again now, I am ever mindful that we are so very much like that string being dipped in wax. We are growing stronger and more importantly, brighter, as we come to know each other better, more deeply, more profoundly, more honestly. In this time when tensions run high, it is for us to know each other better through our places where our faith is shared, through our places where our faiths are different, and to continue to dip that string, to build and grow and build that glow as we worship and come to know each other better. We hope that you'll join us in prayer, in song, in meditation, in friendship. Our service begins on page 121. We start with the kindling of the Sabbath lights. For that, we invite Susan and Stephen to join us on the bima, page 121.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Okay, that was not a problem.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Join us, please, if you're able, as we turn to page 123 and we rise for Kiddush. We invite Henry to join us on the eve of his becoming a bar mitzvah, page 123, as we continue by sanctifying this day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei bria Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratza banu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava u'ratzon, v'nchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh b'reshit, ki hu yom tehillah, l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, kibanu v'charta, v'tanu kirasha, mikol ha'amim, v'shat kodshecha, v'ahava u'ratzon, im chalchanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
I'll drink.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Please be seated. Our service continues on page 124.
We enter the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, and the flaws within our human hearts. The harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon as we lift our hearts in prayer.
We continue on page 138.
We'll be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el hamar yuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem u'tiferet v'liti la 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 lecha dodi, likrat likrat gala, p'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat gala, p'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu b'nelcha, ki hi mekor haracha, mirosh mikdem nesucha. So ma'aseh v'machshavati la 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 lecha dodi, likrat likrat gala, p'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat gala, p'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orech u'mi'uri, uri uri shedaberi, kevod Adonai aleinu, nikla la 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 lecha dodi, likrat likrat gala, p'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat gala, p'nei p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Bo'id v'shalom ateret bala, גם בשמחה ובבהלה, תוך אמוני הסגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, תנהג פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, תנהג פני שבת לקבלה.
You may be seated. Our service continues with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
Yitkara Shmei Rava. V'yalma divrach irute, v'yalich malchute, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayedecho b'et Yisrael. Ba'agala, uv'yizman kariv, v'imeru, amen. Heshmei Rabba Mevorach, Le'alam Ulam Me'almaya, Yitbarach, Yitabach, Pitba'ar, V'yit-Roma, V'yit-Naseh, V'yit-Hadar, V'yit-Taleh, V'yit-Halal, Shmei Dekudesha, Breichu, Le'alam Min Kol Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata damin ran bilma v'imeru amen.
Please rise and turn to page 146.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה משנה עיתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמורותיהם ברקיע כרצונו בורא יום ולילה גולה אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. זוועות שמו.
וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever.
You may be seated. Okay.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך בדברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
Please turn to page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Please turn to page 158. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך הים לפני משה מרים, זה אלינו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Yeah.
turn to page 162. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasod et ha-Shabbat ledoratam v'ridolam B'nei uvein B'nei Yisrael both Gidolam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasod et ha-Shabbat ledoratam v'ridolam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasod et ha-Shabbat ledoratam v'ridolam Uvayom hashvi Shabbat v'nafash Shabbat v'nafash Shabbat v'nafash V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasod et ha-Shabbat ledoratam v'ridolam
Oh, please rise.
Before we start. Adonai, Sephatai Tifta, Uviagite Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Hasei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Gerula, Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Be'olam Adonai, B'chayei ha'kol atah, Rav Le'oshia, Morid Hatal, Mechachel Chaim B'chesed, Mechayei ha'kol Be'rachamim Rabim. Somech noflim ve'ofer olim, umatir asurim, umakayem munato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al geburot, umido melach, melech melit umechayem, umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman et halacha chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom v'lecha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh.
Please be seated. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, רצה במיחותינו, קדושנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך. סבינו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, וטהר ליבנו לעבוד באמת.
והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו, באהבה ורצון שבת קודשך, והנוהו וישראל מקדשי שמך. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Please turn to page 175. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers.
There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'othcha v'vadcha v'yira avo.
Please turn to page 176. Modim anachnu lach, sha'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, le'olam va'ed. Zor chayenu, magen yishenu, ata hu ledor vador.
נודה לך וסופר תהילתך על חיינו, המסורים בידיך ועל נשמותינו. הפקודות לך ועל ניצך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך ותורותיך, שבכל עת ערב ובוקר בצהריים.
הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, ורחם כי לא תמו חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך.
Don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first. We take a few moments now of silent prayer and reflection.
Please turn to page 180. Ose shalom livroha, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
We now offer our prayers for healing. We think of those in our community, those who are close to us, and those whom we may not even know. We turn to page 371. I'll read the prayer. I will say some names, and then if you have names to share, as I look in your direction, please feel free to say those names out loud or pray for them in your heart. Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah v'Yivarech et hacholim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all who are ill. Our thoughts turn specifically to James Boyle, Barbara DiCario, Thomas DiMatteo, Mark Friedman, Elizabeth Friedman, Yeshaya Idel Ben Gittel, Dennis Goldsmith, Ira Coleman, Abby Kohat, Karen Jacobson, Marty Jacobson, Dorothy Jacobson, Shana Esther Bat Rachel, Moshe Ben Leah, Chaya Sivia Bat Abraham Udvara, Lori Conway, Ed Musinski, Howard Itkin, Jonathan Behrman, Chris Sura, Scott Rosenfeld, Joel Shemaskin, Stephen Rosenfeld, Joel Goldman, Abraham Ben Tehila, Olga Buzo, Amos Ben David Vafansi, and from the tragedy this week in North Carolina, Sean DeHart, Drew Pescaro, Emily Haupt, and Rami Al-Ramadan. Are there any other names anyone who would like to share? May the Holy and Blessed One be filled with compassion, for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God send renewal of body and spirit. May God grant strength to them, to their loved ones, and to their caretakers. And let us say, Amen.
Before us, help us find the courage.
About 17 centuries ago, remember that time? Samuel ben Nachman lived in the land of Israel. He was a great teacher. He was called an Amora. Several times in his life, Samuel left Judea and Israel to go to Babylonia, where most of the great teachers and academies of the time were found. In the course of his visits, he befriended a man named Avlet, a man who wasn't Jewish, who had achieved a well-known reputation for predicting the future by charting the path of the stars. Once during one of his trips, Samuel and Avlet walked down to a pond where they sat down and they talked the morning away. Not long after they arrived, they noticed a group of workers who had come to the pond to cut down the reeds that grew along the edges. Once dried, these reeds could be sold in town to those who used them to make instruments like flutes or baskets or mats. One by one on their way to the pond, the workers passed by these two friends, and as one of the workers walked by Avlet, he grabbed his head and he closed his eyes. He was silent for a moment. Then he opened his eyes and he said to Samuel, "I have just had a vision in which that man who passed before me was killed by a poisonous stake during his day's labor. Mark my words, my friend, that man will die before the day is over." Samuel had great respect for Avlet's predictions. He wondered and worried about what would happen. Nisim, the man Avlet had predicted would die before the day's end, walked over to a spot along the edge and began to collect reeds. Like the others, he pulled them out of the moist earth and cleaned them off in the water. Then he placed the reeds he had uprooted on the grass to dry in the sun. He and his friends worked hard all morning. Once the sun reached its highest point in the sky, directly overhead, all the workers stopped what they were doing and sat down in a circle together. So that one by one, so that no one could go hungry, these workers combined all their food and shared it equally. Nisim was given the task of collecting the day's food from each and every worker. As he walked by, taking whatever each person had to offer, he noticed his friend Huna, who had no food to contribute for that day, and he felt awkward and ashamed. Nisim felt his friend's pain, and when the others were not looking, Nisim slipped him some of his own food so that Huna would have something to give to the group. Huna gave Nisim a smile that said thank you and put his friend's food in the basket as if it were his own. And after Nisim went around to each of the workers, the food was divided equally and all ate their lunch together. All afternoon, Samuel and Avlet watched the men do their work. After many hours, the sun began to set and the men knew that the time to quit work for the day had come. And one by one, they passed Samuel and Avlet, each man carrying his bag of reeds. Avlet could not believe that his prediction had not come true. As Nisim walked by, Avlet jumped up and asked if anything unusual or dangerous had happened to any of the workers that day. "Nothing unusual. It was a normal day for all of us," replied Nisim, a bit surprised by that question. "Then would you mind if I looked inside your sack?" Dun, 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 dun. He took the sack in his hands and he opened it. "Samuel, come here and look at this," said Avlet. When Samuel came over, Avlet opened the sack to show him a snake slithering about among the reeds. It was most certainly a poisonous snake in that sack. Without Nisim or anyone knowing, quickly Avlet dropped the sack and Nisim killed the snake with its staff. "It's amazing that this man did not die," said Avlet to Samuel. "Maybe it's not quite that amazing, my friend," said Samuel, turning to a confused and shaken Nisim. Samuel asked Nisim if he had done anything different that day from what he would normally do. Nisim thought for a moment and explained he could think of nothing except that he had helped his friend Huna with food to contribute to the lunch. See, Havlet, said Samuel, that's the explanation. This man fulfilled the mitzvah, the good deed that calls upon each person to love your neighbor as yourself. And because Nisan performed this commandment, he was saved from death. Samuel looked at his friend and said, you see, your powers of prediction are great indeed, but the power of a deed performed to help another is greater. Amen.
Amen.
So anybody beside me have a May birthday? Well, if you do, come on up. Mr. Adar, we know it. What? Yes, anybody, everybody and anybody who has a May birthday, you get a blessing, an extra blessing. Blessings don't hurt. Yeah, I know, but she doesn't want to do it. Do you have a May birthday? You missed it then, lady. Oh, the shy ones keep trickling in. We praise the eternal God, sovereign of the universe, who gives us wisdom to us as flesh and blood, author of life. Our times are in your hand. We thank you for the blessing of life and for everything that enriches our lives. We turn to you now with special gratitude to share in the happiness of all these May birthday celebrants. What a great month. Be with them now and always. May they find blessing with health and happiness and with the strength to overcome sickness and sorrow as we honor them for the gifts they each bring to this sacred community. We pray that each day brings them an abundance of blessings, and the greatest blessing is sharing those blessings with others. Stay here. Anybody who is under the age of 13, Henry, you can come up here because it's your bar mitzvah tomorrow, but I want anybody under the age of 13 come down here in the front. You will also receive a blessing. Cantor.
Yeah.
Come on, come on. Come close, come close, come close. It is our custom on Sabbath and holy days to bless our children. Any of them who would like a parent to come with them, they're invited too. And so we offer this blessing, the threefold benediction, to the children and the birthday celebrants this evening. May God bless you and watch over you. May the light of God shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. May the presence of God radiate in your life, and may you be blessed. Shalom, with peace, with salam. You may go back to your seats, but don't sit down. Happy birthday. Thank you. Do something about justice. What? Yes, please remain standing, and we turn now to page 586. And we do the second paragraph on 586, and then we turn quickly to 591.
thoughts now to those in our community, those in our circles whom we have loved and lost. This week in particular, we are mourning the terrible tragedy in Poway, California, and we share this passage written and this prayer written by our colleague and by our congregant, Rabbi Jason Fenster, who wrote El Malei Rachamim, God of Compassion. This is not normal. It is not normal for weapons to disrupt prayers of freedom and memory. It is not normal for houses of worship to have protocols for responding to violence. It is not normal for leaders, partners, and friends to extend thoughts and prayers in the wake of another attack. Adon HaShalom, God of peace. We refuse to accept this as normal. We refuse to resign to apathy. We refuse to give in to forces that seek to divide. We refuse to allow time to dull our moral outrage. Ribono Shel Tikva, Master of Hope, in the face of hate, strengthen our hearts to insist on love. In the face of darkness, uncover our eyes to find sparks of your light. In the face of violence, open our hands so we might extend them in peace. To those we have lost, grant perfect rest under the sheltering presence of your love. To those who are in pain, grant wholeness, comfort, and healing. To those who survive, grant us the faith, courage, and wisdom we need to build a world of peace. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. During the period of Shloshim, during these last 30 days, we are mourning the loss of Jeffrey Ring, father of Lori Weiss, Marcia Gerwitz, mother of Alan Gerwitz, Roddy Katz, mother of Rabbi Alan Katz, Margarita Kajczuk, Florence Sporn, wife of Leon Sporn, and Laura Feldman, mother of Jeff Feldman. We are mourning the loss of Lori Gilbert Kay of the Chabad of Poway Synagogue. And from the UNC community, we are mourning the loss of Riley C. Howell and Ellis R. Parlier. This marks a yahrzeit, an anniversary of passing for Ruth Baker, Morris Buchholz, Lyle Brozost, Irving Cooper, Mary Jo Ebner, Margaret Faber, Barbara Fleischer, Harvey Gage, Marjorie Gutnick, Samter Horowitz, Ida Kyle, Abba Lakach, Thelma Marcus, Gail Nichtern, Robert Oster, Thomas F. Reinke Jr., Judy Sandler, Ethel Schifrin, Arthur Stillman, Freya Wildman, and Deborah Zimmerman. If there are other names that you would add to either list, or names better spoken aloud by you, names of those you are mourning, please, as I look your way, would you share that name aloud with us? Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, as we join together on page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayei v'yomei chon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram le'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav Huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all who are mourning, to all Israel, as we join together in saying, Amen. Please be seated. We share with you just a few brief announcements before we conclude. We want to thank our greeter today, Joshua Faber, who is at the back door. If you have any questions, please be sure to ask Joshua. We want to thank all of those who participated and who had honors in today's service as well. We want to remind you to please join us for dinner immediately following services in the social hall just behind us, and also about 15 minutes after services start. If you have finished eating and would like to do an art activity, if you go into our youth lounge, there will be a small art activity to do there as well. If your children are under the age of 5, we ask please that an adult accompany them. Tomorrow morning we have Torah study where we continue our consideration of the book of Jeremiah at 9:15. And then, we have at 10:30, we have Henry Schottenfeld becoming a bar mitzvah, and we have our regular Shabbat services where he will be leading and reading from the Torah as well. Please join us at 10:30. Fourth graders have their service and program tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Sunday morning we have Mitzvah Day, so we are hoping that if you haven't signed up yet that you will take the time to find an activity that you and your family can do to help prepare the broken in this community, in the broader community, and you'll find different opportunities where you can volunteer with your family members as well, and also to let us know if you'll be coming for brunch and for breakfast or for lunch that day as well. Mr. Adar will be eager to know that. On Monday, May 6th at 7:30 p.m., we have our first meeting for the Israel trip, the congregational Israel trip next spring. If you're interested in learning more about that, join us at 7:30. And then the Israel Memorial Day observance at Beth Shalom at 6:30 on Wednesday, May 8th. Followed the next day, Thursday, May 9th, by Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel's Independence Day at the JCC from 5 to 8 p.m. All are welcome to those gatherings as well. A week from tonight, May 10th, we have our Young Family Service featuring the 3rd grade at 6 p.m. We have a crossover dinner at 6:45 p.m. for both our young families and for all who want to join us, all ages, before our Erev Shabbat family service featuring the Israeli Choral Shabbat at 8 p.m. So next Friday night, 6 p.m. if you are a kindergartner to 3rd grader and family, dinner together with the whole congregation, and then an 8 p.m. service. I think we also want to remind you, and we're so pleased to again be hosting the 2nd annual Ramadan Breakfast Dinner here, Tuesday, May 14th at 8 p.m., sponsored by the Women's Chavurah and Social Action Committee. We have limited space, but we want you to join us, so if that is of interest to you, please RSVP to Donna Goldberg or contact the office. And if there are any other announcements, please let me know from where you sit. If you've got anything that you're celebrating, any joys, any successes, any news. Judy.
Our oldest grandchild is graduating from college a week from today.
Your oldest grandchild?
Is graduating from college a week from today.
Is graduating from college a week today. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Any other announcements? Please. Tis the season. Your son is graduating college next week. Excellent, excellent. Yes?
So this coming Monday, my class is going to the GCC show, the Holocaust Survivors show. I'm excited about it.
Excellent. There's a play coming to the JCC called Survivors about the Holocaust, and your class is going. That's good to know. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And we want to most especially welcome all of our guests who are joining us for the first time, and all of our congregants who are joining us not for the first time. We want to welcome all who are here this evening in friendship, in prayer, and in community, and we're looking forward to joining with you at dinner as well. Yes, we're going to make motzi. Yes, we're going to make motzi. We are going to give thanks for that which sustains and nourishes us. And we want to remind you and our friends who are joining us for the first time, later on when you go into dinner, when there is bread and juice or wine, That is just giving thanks for the bread we eat and for sanctifying the day. That is something that all can participate and enjoy. There is nothing sacramental about those, both the bread and the juice. Like in other faith traditions, ours is giving thanks for food and sanctifying the day, and we invite you when we return to the social hall to please join us. But if you would, yes. Motzi. And now we're going to do Motzi. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Join us, please. Our closing song this evening is called Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. It can be found in your prayer book on page 657. You will notice some hand motions. If you don't know the words, though some might sound familiar to you, some around peace. Please, our friends who are accustomed to it, get your hands ready. Join us in giving thanks, in praying for peace. They're easy to catch on to. Shalom Aleinu. Shalom Aleinu. Shalom Aleinu. Shalom Aleinu. Shalom Aleinu. Shalom Aleinu.
Please rise for the closing benediction. Eternal God, by whatever name we call you, we know that we are one human family, and this world will always be enriched by understanding that there is only one God, many ways of worshiping that God, accepting that God, but when we reach out to each other and help another, we are doing God's work. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
I was trying to make you
We're going to be setting up a few more tables, so sort of step aside, and if so many people can help move the chairs there to help our custodians, That would be greatly appreciated. So step aside so they can set up a few more tables, and some people gathered the prayer books to put them back.
Mom, you have my wallet, right?
I'm coming. Good guy. That was really yeah. Pretty good voices too.
Go see my family.
And also enjoy it. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. I'm tempted to start Duolingo
Well, Shabbat's the Sabbath, and Shalom is peace, mitzvah. Either a sacred practice. Each of the 12 sacred days have various rituals. We
kind of problem.
No, but maybe yours.